Okay, so here I am just checking out how the layers are looking, hitting Control E on my keyboard for the Mac and going into Photoshop. So Control E is going to open up the layer I've selected in After Effects. It's going to open it up inside of Photoshop. And from here, I'm using the Clone Stamp brush or tool. And I'm just kind of painting in some elements of the drummer's arms there. Now I've jumped back to the background, trying to kind of fix the background up, kind of fix the fog, paint out some of the snares, the toms. Not that I know all my drum lingo, but painting out the foreground guitar there. Just turning layers off and on to see what's working, what's not working. I'm gonna go ahead and clone in the drummer's arm here. So I don't see this part of the drum set. I want this drummer to be all by himself and no drum pieces attached to him, since we're going to animate this guy moving. Again, I jump back into After Effects, and after you save your Photoshop file, you save in Photoshop and then you go into After Effects, and sometimes you have to select the layer like I did there and hit right click, reload footage. And it's going to bring in an updated version of the Photoshop file that I've painted so I can see what's going on. And then I can hit Command E again and go right back into Photoshop and paint away again. So I realized I need to work some more on the drummer. I need to erase some more of the drum kit. I also need to work some more on the background and remove more of the drum set from the background. Switch over into After Effects. Things are automatically updating. I'm looking at it. I'm scrubbing through my timeline, just trying to get everything in a good place. Back in Photoshop again, changing my music up a little bit there in Spotify. Back in Photoshop and painting more of the background. Jumping into After Effects after saving. And it's starting to look pretty good. Moving into shot 2. And realizing I need to work on the dude's hair. So I'm just using a brush tool here and I'm painting in black on the mat, and I'm set my brush to a low opacity, about 30%, 35%. And I'm just painting with my mouse. Again, I'm not using a Wacom tablet, and I'm just painting with my mouse and just kind of feathering the edge of his hair, working with my softness of my brush, saving, and then going back into After Effects. And you can see there, it's working quite well. Moving into shot 3. Shot 3, I need to do some painting here of the background. I should mention that on this particular video, I've sped everything up by 300%. So when I was cutting things out, it was sped up to about 600%. This is about half of that speed. And again, I'm using the Clone Stamp brush tool here, and I'm just painting in some of the background. It looks a little bit strange when you look at this image by itself. Actually, it looks very strange by itself. But once we bring it back in After Effects and we can see things moving, and when we apply effects over the top, it starts to work. You know, we can actually see if it's working or not working. So here I'm jumping back and forth. I'm saving in Photoshop, opening up After Effects, looking at my composition, jumping back into Photoshop, painting some more, saving, jumping back into After Effects, and I just go back and forth until I see what's working and what's not working. In shot 4 now, and just trying to determine what it is I do actually need to paint out here. Working a little bit more on the animation as well, just to get the shot down right. So I can kind of, try to eliminate as much as possible for painting. So I'm kind of moving the foreground layer around a little bit, scaling it up a little bit, repositioning. Just trying to save myself as much of a headache as possible, because cloning in backgrounds, cloning in people and hair and hands and fingers and painting, it takes a lot of work. We're on shot 5, and again realizing I need to paint out a lot of the guys, a lot of the hands on the guys. So that's what I'm doing here. Shot 4, for the most part, realized I can get away with not painting very much. So that's why we moved through that one very quickly. Again, when you're painting like this, sometimes things look really strange. They look like they're not working so well, but when you move back into After Effects and look at the animation, it can work quite well. A little bit tricky to paint fingers off of hair, but again, it works. Here I'm trying to get some of the ear back. This was very challenging, and I just did a little bit here. It just takes a little bit, right? Just to get rid of that finger, that edge of that finger, so that maybe the layer that's in front of it with the fingers will cover imperfections up. We're also not super close on the guy's head and ear, so we're able to get by with a little bit. Seeing a couple of duplicated hands here, which is what I'm doing here. I realized that I added an extra finger to this hand, so I'm going to paint it out. And I'm going to zoom in really tight here and make my brush smaller and smaller with the bracket tool, or the bracket keys. Bracket down makes your brush smaller, bracket up makes, right bracket makes the brush bigger, and that's going to do it.